Hey guys, this is the Rihu Pro fixed angle knife sharpener. Let's open this thing up. All right, so all the parts come in this nice carrying case. So you're gonna be able to put everything back in. It's got a zipper, and then put this away until you're ready to use it again. But fixed angle knife sharpeners are awesome because you don't have to worry about holding your knife at the perfect angle. You're gonna set it, and it's gonna do the important part for you, which is being consistent. So here's what's in the kit. You get the main knife sharpener section here. There's a couple pieces. We'll go over here in a second how to assemble that. But you also get 10 different stones starting at 120 grit all the way up to 3000 grit. So depending what you're sharpening, if it's a knife that's already sharp, you're just trying to put a really sharp edge on it, you can stay up here with your finer grits. But if you're starting, maybe you make your own knives and are trying to sharpen it from a really dull blade, you can start down here in the 120, and then it's stepped really nicely, so you work your way up, which actually ends up saving a lot of time. So you sharpen a little bit with each one, and you don't have to, like a lot of these sharpener kits, they'll have a big gap in between your grit, and so when you jump up to the next grit, you need to really run that blade on that for a long time. But when you have it stepped really nice and easy, it makes it go a lot faster and gives you a much nicer blade here. To start off, you're gonna need some type of edge to work on, maybe the side of a desk, the side of a countertop, and then you're gonna take this part of your kit here, which has this easy screw bottom, this rubber top here, so it's not gonna move easily, and you're gonna slip that over your edge and then just tighten that up. Now this part here is built with a spring in it, so you can actually rotate this. All right, so that's a really nice design there. Now on the side here, you're gonna see a little threaded part. You're going to take the shorter rod. It should have a thumb screw and a threaded end on the bottom, and then this little clip here with a set screw on it as well. You're gonna screw that into this part right here. Turn that in a bit and then tighten that thumb screw down on that to lock that in place. Now you're gonna wanna take this piece here, which has this ball, this like ball with a hole in it. There's a hole in the middle of that with also a set screw. You're gonna slide that down over this rod. Now this is what you're gonna use to set your angle. And then we're going to take this rod and screw it into the end of this piece here. So screw that in, and then there's a little tightener lock in place nut there, so tighten that up as well. Now you're gonna take this piece here, slide that off. We're gonna need that on the back side, and then slide that into that little ball here. Now this is gonna put our angle, or this is gonna let us lift and rotate this evenly. Now slide this little piece we just slid off here, slide that on the back, and then lock that in place. I'll show you later how you're gonna use that to adjust the distance out. Some of that will depend on the size of your knife. All right, now this part here has a spot with a spring in it that you can choose your grit. And then let's say we'll go with, since the knife I'm using is already pretty sharp, I'm gonna start with the 2000 grit, and that's just gonna slip in right here, and we can rotate this over and then throw the 3000 grit in. So you can have two locked in here, ready to go at the same time. All right, now we have our handle here, and now this part here, depending how high up you slide this, is gonna change the angle on your knife. So you're gonna take a knife now and lock it in. I'll rotate this around so I can see my hex nuts there. And we're gonna lock that knife into these jaws here. And that's gonna hold that and keep that consistent there. So you're gonna loosen the small two Phillips right here, just so they're loose. And then you can loosen these hex a little bit. Now, once you have your knife, there is a button on the back here that when you press on that, it's going to actually open these jaws up a little bit, okay? So that pushes that forward and lets the jaws split apart, and then you can slide your knife right in there. Then let off the button. That's gonna loosely hold it, and now you need to tighten all these screws up to grab your knife nice and tight so it's not gonna fall out while you're sharpening it. All right, so that locks your blade in place. You can see that's very tight in there. Now you can set your angle that you want to sharpen it at by raising and lowering this here. Okay, so the higher this is, the steeper the angle. You can do this visually, or if you have an angle finder, you can actually set it on here to help find that angle. Once you get an angle you're happy with, you're gonna lock that on there, and then set your stop so that you don't slide out past your blade there. So you don't want your whetstone to fall beyond your blade. Now, you're gonna wanna spray your whetstone, maybe soak it ahead of time, but maybe keep a spray bottle nearby so you can keep it wet while you're doing it. And you're just gonna take it across your blade here. Only a slight amount of pressure. Don't want to press too hard. And just work this back and forth. Some knives will tell you what angle you should sharpen it at, so you can set that. Others you can just visually match the bevel that's there, or if you're creating your own bevel, find the angle you want and then just work that back and forth. And once you spend some time on that edge, you can flip it over and then go to your next grit. And just make sure the stone stays wet. And I can see the metal starting, you see the stone starting to turn gray from pulling the metal off here. And that is getting really sharp. So you're going to spend some time on each grit, work your way up until the finest grit, and you're going to end up with a really sharp blade. But this is a great kit. It looks a little complicated when you first get it out, but it's actually really easy to use. Now to switch your knife, remember we talked about this part here. You just flip this over very carefully. Now we're on the opposite side. Now we can sharpen this side. So very well designed kit here. Works for a variety of different blades. Very easy to use. The stones you can flip in and out, change them very easily. And you're gonna get a really consistent sharp edge on your blade here. So works really well for tons of different size knives because it gives you all kinds of travel one way to the other. You get all this length if you have a much longer knife, but it has a lot of parts here that make it really easy and really consistent to use, all the different grits. So this is a really nice knife sharpener. If you're looking for a way to get a consistent edge on your knives, get them really sharp, and it works really well, this kit is a great option.